All right, oil tankers, EuroNav needs another deep dive. I'm looking at Nordic American Tankers, which is really buzzy and sort of their business model and some other companies that are different or are similar. And I would say this is quite similar. EuroNav is uh, smashing the like button right now to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, so we have some companies like Nordic American Tankers, DHT Tankers, which is double hull tankers, the TNK Tankers, which is the TK tanker division, and then EuroNav is another big tanker company to put in that list as specifically crude tankers, and they have a whole lot of the VLCCs. I've been checking out their fleet and checking out their balance sheet, checking out their stock history. So we're going to do a big one here on EuroNav and compare them to Nordic and the other hypey tanker stocks. I think EuroNav is pretty hypey as well, but um, let's get in here. Okay, so this is Brian Lewis with MMT Investing and Rhino Ralph, and things just changed. So let's go to their early stock chart. And we have 2009-ish. So this is a little bit after the super high oil prices. And we have a green dot or two way up here around 20 something. And they kind of came into business on the downswing off the oil prices and just kind of got down to this kind of floor here around $8.50, and then they hit it again here. So I guess I'll talk about their fleet a little bit and talk about their business. They say that they, just like every tanker company, they say they're one of the biggest tanker companies in the world, and every company says that. Companies that have 20 boats say that. Companies that have 150 boats say that. Um, EuroNav has 66 tankers. Most of them are VLCC, the very large crude carriers. Then they have a couple of V plus, which are the ultra large, and they have a bunch of, they have about one third of the fleet as the Suez Max tankers, which is kind of medium sized. So they're mostly large tankers. They're flying flags of Greece, France, Belgium, Liberia, and a couple of Marshall Islands, and their home ports are China, 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 China. So it's all over there, and I think that kind of fundamental has looked really good for the tanker stocks. Having a focus in crude oil is really good because that's what's happening right now. Is you're storing all this excess oil on the crude oil carriers, and then being in China, I think, is probably a good thing for China being one of the early countries to kind of come out of this recession. And let's look at what they've done. Okay, so this is better than I was thinking. I couldn't remember. I looked at them quickly in an earlier video, but we have, well, the S&P did an ABC wave. Wait, not there. Hold on. The S&P from Feb 20 here did an ABC correction wave down off the top of the everything bubble with the dead cat, and that bottoms here. Let me try again. A, B, C, correction wave, dead cat. Okay, so this is the bottom for EuroNav. So they did kind of swing down during the first down phase, which is pretty common. A couple of the tanker companies have a long right from the start. Most of them kind of pick up from the dead cat or from the bottom here, and they look like they picked up from the dead cat and have been a really good long since the dead cat. So let's take a look at what they've done. So we got this ABC Elliott down, and then we got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me line it up better than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 5 wave impulse here, Elliott, and we're looking now. We've started to turn over already, and this looks like the next ABC correction wave down now. And so I want to look at this dead cat area for tankers versus this dead cat and this, and then also the longer term the longer term look on the S&P, this ABC is really the A of an ABC. So this is a C wave and it's an ABC wave on the smaller time scale. So this is my next target for tankers right here, because you can see here that the tankers are pulling down during each of these down moves. They're going down, but they're going up really hard, and it's a net long. And so if we look at EuroNav, or sorry, if we look at Nordic American Tankers and TNK and the DHT, the double hull tankers, those all have this kind of net long shape right now. But they all pull down. They all pull down on the down moves, and it looks like we are starting a down move right now. So I'm not interested in tankers this week. And next week, I'm going to start trying to position where this dead cat is going to happen on the S&P, because when the S&P starts going up, the tankers can go way up, and that's a position potentially for a call option or just a long on tankers. And EuroNav goes in that group of really, really solid crude specific large tankers. And this one, I don't know. Everyone is all crazy about the Nordic American tankers, but there's several of these companies that are crude specific, and they're all doing really well right now. And Nordic got a kind of hypey parabolic top that went like this and reversed, and that, I think that's just craziness. This is kind of where the trading top is on all of those companies, is sort of just a double top here, while the S&P did a double top. And now they're all reversing as the S&P is starting to reverse. So they're going to follow this S&P pattern, but they're going to follow it in a different direction, because the S&P general direction is this direction, and the tanker general direction is this direction. So this is one of the very few longs during this credit contraction cycle. Let me talk about that in a minute. So we get this 3-month credit contraction cycle here. It's really closer to 4 months. And what we get in a credit contraction cycle is a general down, bounce kind of shape. And so we are looking to go down on the next little bounce here, basically. And I think there's going to be like a little dead cat in the middle of this leg, and then we're going to get another, probably a 5 wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a mini bull trap here, and we got a 5 wave here also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's pretty good chance that we get a 5 wave on all of these B's here, and these are very good spots to go long on tankers, these 5 impulse waves. But there's also little ups in the middle. You get back tests and little ups in the middle of these ones too. So we'll be tracking this on the main channels. These oil tanker videos, I don't want to get too much into the cycles and the Elliott waves and everything, because I just want to cover sort of the fundamentals of all of these companies, and how EuroNav always smashes that like button right now to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And I don't know if I said I was Brian Lewis with MMT Investing, but things just changed. So I guess let's go talk about their balance sheets and their company, whatever. So they claim to be the biggest fleet because they operate inside of a pool of VLCC tankers that's above their company, and that entire pool combined is the biggest fleet, sort of, but it's not its own fleet. And then their balance sheet is really good. They are cash positive ahead of their debt right now. Their assets to liabilities are about even. So this is one of the good balance sheets in oil. And they have a good stock chart. And then let's look at the bounce from the bottoms, 8 something to 12 something. Okay, so that's not a very aggressive bounce. Some of these companies have gotten, from the bottom to top, have gotten more than a 2x bounce. So this is a kind of a calmer long. So this may be less interesting as a sort of a call option thing, like just in this down cycle. But And I've done a little bit of comparing the product tankers versus the crude oil carrier tanker companies, and then some mixed fleets, where we see the crude companies have come out really early with a long trend, and then the product tanker companies are starting to use their product boats to store crude oil now, and the product tanker companies have gotten a later up trend, like Scorpio, and so that's something to watch. If the crudes are going to be a better swing trade, or if the product tankers are going to be a better swing trade when we get down into these up areas, and then long term, the product tankers should be switching back to product, to oil product, and the crude tankers will then continue to store oil for a very long time. It should be several years. So once we get to the end of this cycle, we're looking at a credit expansion phase, and that credit expansion phase is going to decrease this contango, the oil contango situation, and we'll get a spot in a couple of months from now where we're not in contango anymore, and the spot price of oil is higher than the futures price, and that should kill down a lot of the hype on the tankers. Just like in like 2 months from now, and those product tankers will be the first ones to not refill with crude oil if the demand changes. But this one, EuroNav, is one of the big crude oil tankers that's going to be storing a ton of crude oil, just storing it, like staying still and storing it for a long time, more than transporting it. And so, I mean, I think we have a potential several year bear market out here off of the next expansion. And these crude tankers should be really good companies. They're dividend kind of stocks that have a general up and a down market, and they should be good for several years. And this could be kind of a cornerstone sort of a dividend investment position long term, like over the long bear market. If we get this kind of formation, and that's looking out into the next year sometime, but right now we are in an aggressive credit contraction down cycle, and it's a very dangerous environment to be trading in general. And you have to be very good with your timing and very specific. And this is not investment advice, but very dangerous, very specific, very good timing on the up moves in order to get the gains. And it's not really going to be a long through this crash here. Like it wasn't a long through this crash here. It did well, but it's not a long through the crash. But it is very long on the up moves. And just these little up moves, every bit of the positive gains over the next month and a half is just going to be during these little up moves. And if you can get them, that's it. Like that's it for the swing trade. If you hold long through here, yeah, maybe it'll continue this angle. Maybe not. We'll see what it does. And then I think that the hype and the positivity of the tankers is going to go from pretty hypey at the bottom here to less and less hypey till we get to the end of the contango, and then a boring period, and then we'll get into this bear market where I think they're going to be good long dividend stocks here. Okay, so that was a very long overview. EuroNav is a young, fresh fleet of very large oil-specific tankers. They claim to be the biggest, even though they're not. They only have 66 boats, and they claim to have the best crew and management in the world, which, I mean, whatever. That's their marketing thing on their site. And then, um, yeah, and then just the general oil situation. So that's a look at EuroNav, and this is not a versus Nordic American and Double Hull and TK. This is EuroNav should be viewed completely in that group, and I'll probably put those four together as like the big four kind of crude specific carriers that had a really early hot shot here, and they should have a very long dividend stock play out here, and they're going to be interesting to kind of swing trade in this next 2 months, and then the next 4 months after that. We'll keep following these guys. This is an interesting one, and then I probably won't be targeting I probably won't be targeting EuroNav actually as a long or a call, just because there's so many different companies, and a lot of them have had just bigger moves up, more volatility, and I want those bigger moves if I'm going to be swing trading. So I think I like EuroNav a lot better over here with their balance sheet and with the dividend kind of outlook and the large fleet storage outlook. I think I like them better out here than speculative on these ups. So okay, that's way longer than I was thinking about doing, but that's good. This is a good one. A good look at all this stuff, and then scrubbers. I forgot to talk about scrubbers. I don't even know what EuroNav is doing with regards to scrubbers. So the International Maritime Organization, which is the UN, the United Nations, uh, has like a task force, I guess, that enforces pollution regulations on all these oil fleets. And the 2020 IMO said that you have to declare what type of new fuel that you're using, because these tanker fleets were all using high sulfur fuels and just burning them with high pollution rates. So now they have to either switch to lower pollution fuels, or if they're going to use the high sulfur fuel, they have to install scrubbers to clean the pollution on those fuels. So all of these tanker companies are having to retrofit with scrubbers or switch their fuel supplies, and um, it's kind of a mess. And people are saying, like, is scrubbers going to be way better long term, or is the low cost fuel stuff going to be better long term? And I don't know. I'll keep looking at that long term, but in the short term, it doesn't seem to make any difference at all. Like it hasn't been like, oh, the scrubber ones went up and the other ones have gone down. Like most of the companies that have declared scrubbers have not even installed most of them. Like it's like 10% of the fleet that even has scrubbers yet. So so in the short term, I don't think the scrubbers matter, and that's something to look at next year probably. So all right, way too long. Not investment advice. Please hit the like button, because that is what helps us YouTube publishers create content. And happy trading.